This is Pastor Kenji with Timberview Church, and you are listening to the Native as I Can Be podcast with my homie Gino Ray. Wu-Tang never die.
Who's the podcast host that you love the most? Coming to you live from coast to coast. Call me Thunderlip, Spaceman, or G. It's just me being native as I can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, part 2.
That's so cool, man. I liked the whole fucking, and then just from my own personal, um, you know, I've always been a film guy. So content aside, just the way it's shot and put together was amazing. Like the overlaying of the different quotes and some of the music, like when the wildfires are being shown. I mean, it was so well done. Just on a straight up production level, I was very impressed. And then going through some of your other work on the website too. Just you guys got an eye for what you're doing. It's very cool.
Yeah.
And is there room for a sequel?
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you asked it. So, yes. Yeah. So there's actually a prequel. I made a film with my daughter in 2020 about how we kind of went from blending to dissenting in our community as a result of the BLM uprising. So that's called Era. That's her name, Era. It's called Era Untamed. And I'm just starting to come out of the fog in that one, but it's an autobiographical piece that really works with her as the central character, and then kind of us together at the end. So there's that. There's My Name Is Not Amy, and then there's one more film, two more films I'd love to make. So one is all right. Let me see if I can describe this quickly. So part of my ancestry is Banjarese, and Banjarese people came from all over the place, settled in Banjarmasin, which is South Borneo. They're not necessarily native to the island. Today, I think they're considered a native group there because they've been, they're so of that place now, but it's a very global background of folks. So I have I'm a direct descendant of some royal lineage. And there is a Prince Hidayat who was teed up to be the next king as the Dutch were coming in and colonizing Borneo. And Borneo, I believe, was the last island to be colonized. So he was like the last he was like the last resistance fighter. He created this army, fought the Dutch one last time and lost. And then he was sent off to Cianjur in West Java. So my family actually, I don't really have any family, at least close, that still lives on the island of Borneo. Everybody's in West Java now. So long story short, the Dutch took a bunch of shit from my family that didn't belong to them, and it is in museums. It's in the Rijksmuseum. And one of the more famous items that they hold is called it's a diamond. And it was like this 80 carat rough rock thing that they took, chiseled down to 40 carats to this beautiful, perfect little diamond, right? That they were going to gift to the king. King was like, I don't want it. So they put it in the museum. So there's a lot of heated discussion in my family about how that needs to come back to the family. My belief is that it needs to go back to the river where it came from. And that would be the most healing act at this point. So there's a film I would love to make. And we actually went to Amsterdam and filmed and met up with my birth mother. And I met my auntie, who was the only one who knew that my birth mother was pregnant. I met her for the first time. So I got to hear their side of the story from that time. And then we went to the museums and saw all these things, all these Indonesian artifacts and ceremonial objects. And so there's also this, I think, metaphor between the adopted child into whiteness and then the stolen object in this museum that's
The Netherlands.
in the Netherlands, that's in the image of their image of what beauty is versus what its original thing was. So I've been wanting to make an experimental film called Borneo's Diamond, but Just it keeps getting put on the back burner. But then very long answer to that question. Maybe someday.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, it's going to the Netherlands to see your own family history. I mean, not. I mean, obviously you met your mom and Nancy, but in a museum seeing artifacts from your home country is, I mean,
It's surreal.
yeah,
It's the story of like every indigenous communities, right? Like there's a you just look at museums here and all the things that are that need to go back, the restitution that needs to happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, my documentary idea that I had like 20 years ago was, I don't know if I could do it now, but I was going to walk across the United States, starting at my tribe, hitting not every tribe, many tribes, especially across the plains where you get to see how bad things are on the reservation, and stay with native families and do ceremonies. And it would be my journey to rediscover or uncover my own heritage. But then it's also a lens like, oh, this is in the United States. Like, look at how people are living, and like it's being allowed and it's being sanctioned. And uh, that was an idea I had a long time ago, and I was going to do the Trail of Tears and end up at the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And yeah, and that's sort of the germ of an idea too of how this podcast came about, because I was like, wasn't really getting anywhere on the documentary idea, and then I just was going to write a book, and then I just decided to do this, with the idea being it's a bridge to bigger things. But it I actually really like doing it, so maybe this is the thing it's supposed to be. But
I would watch that film and would, hope that it would get made or read the book or, like art takes the form that it's going to take. I feel like you can't force this stuff and the timing it's not always up to us. But I would be fascinated to see you make that journey.
yeah,
I would just say like, if you're ever at a point in your life where you can, um, just take whatever tools you have at the time and use those, Anyway, I'm not trying to give you advice, but I would love to see that film, and especially right now. Man, what an interesting time.
yeah. Well, I ended up breaking it down into like 8 episodes. It's evolved so much, but it would be like there's a tribe in Utah that's considered the wealthiest tribe in the country. And then you got Pine Ridge, which is not that far from Utah. And so you got these two extremes. And then, like the mascot issue and blood quant. Like I had all these different, and like somewhere I have notes, and like I still do my notes like this. Like I don't like, I'm like, this is how I like to work. I like to scribble everything out and arrows. And I mean, there's pages and pages and pages of all these ideas I had for it, and music for each one. Yeah, it was like, my brain was real mossy at the time. It was very fertile, and there was a lot of ideas flowing. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't ruled it out, but it's yeah, it's on the back burner. It's in the hopper right now. So how did it feel to unpack your story through art? Like, do you have any regrets about doing it that way?
No, never. It's weird. I mean, it's weird to put things out so publicly. And both of these films, Era's film and My Name, had pretty small runs. Like they didn't get into a ton of festivals. They're not streaming anywhere publicly. We've had some really powerful community screenings, mostly within the adoption constellation of My Name. We just wrapped our festival run with My Name at the Buffalo International Film Festival, and it won the jury prize for like best doc short. And after like and then I got feedback from the Tallgrass Prairie Film Festival about why they didn't choose it. And it's just like it's right. You have to I've had to stop taking everything personally. And that doesn't mean that there are moments where it's like, oh, ouch, that hurt, right? Or whatever. But
Yeah.
I don't regret it because, you know, I made these films first and foremost for myself because it's fucking therapy. Like
Right.
it is my way of processing and going back over and over and over to something that we filmed and trying to understand that thing in the bigger picture. And it gets clearer and clearer and clearer the more I work on it and the more voices you bring in. You know, this is not a manipulated like forced story. This is a thing that wanted to unfold, and I have no regrets or apologies about it. Um and then like my next hope with that is that like, all right, I just went through this crazy hard thing and I'm going to share it in case anyone else is going through it too and just needs to feel less alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, storytelling, it's, you know, it can always be part of the healing, I think. And is that how you experienced it? How long did this take altogether?
So we filmed 4 years, and you could argue that for 5 years this film was in the works. And this was, you know, I'm married to the cinematographer. We do all of our work together. And so he would just pick up a camera all the time. I was recording every Zoom conversation I had with like my first meetings with other transracial adoptees. My first Zoom call ever with Kay, who's an Indonesian American adoptee. I'd never met an Indonesian adoptee before. Like there's so much magic in these things on the hard drive that I'm never going to open up again because the film's done and I need to move. Um, but it was a lot of freaking footage. And I was really lucky to have a fellowship at the time with an organization called Cinefe in Denver. And I had this brilliant mentor who was like, I challenge you to make this under 20 minutes. And
Wow.
so I really had to just, you know, so I think, you know, editing the thing, I was probably editing it for a year and a half and things kept changing up until the very end. And even after our first private kind of test premiere screening a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Did it do anything to your views on adoption? Filming it, releasing it?
Oh, yeah. I think it made me want to move forward in the most fluid way possible on my continued learning of adoption and all the different experiences in the adoption constellation. And I say that because like it would be very easy and I've seen some adoptees do this and rightfully so, right? For whatever reasons they choose, you can dig in on a position and not budge from it. Um, in order for me to stay in relationship with my adoptive mom, I've had to um I've had to dig really deep and find a lot of empathy and compassion for what she might be going through, even when it hurts and doesn't feel fair or doesn't feel just or whatever. And that's my choice. And I feel like coming out of the film and releasing that film, like I'm not I'm faking a healing path if I don't continue to like push myself as things continue to unfold. Like I can't stay in those final scenes forever, right? And like and I try to find language that, you know, even though right, that's a period of time that is reflected very honestly. I tried to find language that I knew somehow took us a little bit farther into the future than I was even in myself at the time, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you've mentioned now you've kind of got some Lakota brothers and sisters. What's it like navigating like kind of a Native American indigenous space? And I think you said you were adopted again. Um, do you, well, this kind of will go back to what you said earlier about everybody being indigenous. Is everybody you meet on board with your sort of being adopted into Native culture here?
Definitely not. We have we have picked up some haters along the way, sadly. And then those are long, complicated, frankly, really ugly stories that I would never want to talk about on a podcast because I don't want to give them that much power. Um, because these things happen because people are still not healed and they're moving through life with a lot of pain. And when you're a filmmaker in the community, it's easy to target and say things about like um the colonizing nature of Western media. I totally get it. Totally get it. Anyway, moving on from that. Yeah, it's not easy. And yet we don't turn away from it. Like, I had a realization not too long ago that if I had remained in Indonesia, my people would be indigenous people. And there's a lot of commonalities between how we are together in families, in communities, the things we do, the way we act, the things we value. That's very similar to Native community here. So in a way, it feels like coming home to something that's more familiar than when I was being raised in white culture.
Yeah.
Big families make a lot of sense to me. Food, everything being around food makes a lot of sense to me. Having like dozens of aunties makes a lot of sense to me. So there's that. We have not had a formal hunka ceremony, so we have not been formally adopted, but I have a sister who is 100% my sister, and I call her mom Ina, which is mother in Lakota. And that was an invitation to use that word. So these things are always invitations. I certainly don't ever impose these ideas or labels on anything and make sure that there's a lot of consent before I start using the word sister. And I think I guess spiritually it feels like, and being in the ceremony with Doug's altar, the spirits of Doug's altar guiding us, like they have called us home so many times. They've said, "We've known you since you were a little girl. It's no coincidence that you're here now." They've said these things. They see the work we do. They will give us feedback on the work we do. So so even just spiritually, it feels like um, a coming home with full awareness that this is not our home.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. This isn't even in my notes, but I'm curious, how are mixed people treated in Indonesia?
Oh, I don't. I'll speak from my experience, um, which is mixed and American, right? Because I don't actually, my little sister has her fiance is half white, and she's very white presenting, and she speaks the most beautiful Indonesian. I feel like the language can be like really harsh spoken by some people and like really graceful by others, and she's one of those graceful speakers. I could listen to her talk all day, but her mom's from the US, her dad is Indonesian. And I know she's had a hard time with a lot of people just not accepting her as Indonesian, right? Um, when I go, if I go to a Starbucks in Indonesia and give them my name, they literally can't hear me saying Dewi. I have to like type it on my phone and show it to them, and then they look at me like I'm like an imposter who doesn't belong to that name or couldn't possibly be named that. The other thing, the first time we arrived in Banjarmasin, maybe it's not when we first arrived. We did some little boat thing. We came back to the dock, and it was like a Saturday, and so the market was booming, and there were all these people out. And I was there with my husband Jason and our daughter Era, um, and they're both, white, and well, Era's white passing, and we were treated like movie stars. Like you'd think like Julia Roberts had like pulled up on the shore, the way they just looked at us with stars in their eyes, and like it was making Era super uncomfortable. So that's actually more about whiteness than mixed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there's a belief that if you're mixed, you're more beautiful. If your skin is lighter, there are all these products on the shelves for skin whitening crap. That was super hard to see. So, again, it goes back to that colonial Stockholm syndrome.
Being mixed is crazy, dude. Like, and it's just like it's you know, everybody seems to have the same experience with it, whether they're black and it's just everybody. It's just weird double-edged sword of the lightness of your skin doesn't really work with this side, but it does with this side, but this side doesn't like you because but then, and you're just that. I mean, that's part of this whole thing is me. I've been trying to figure this out for so long, and now trying to spin it into an advantage instead of a disadvantage, which is what it always felt like.
So you're reminding me, I met this brilliant elder. He was in his 90s, Paul Umbut. He's a native Bornean from the south, and he had a river that's the name that the tribe goes by, and I can't remember it now. But when I introduced myself and I said who I descend from, right? And right, so English, Sundanese, Banjarese, and Dayak or Native Bornean. Um, the first thing he said to me was, "Oh, you're rich in spiritual identity." And it was such a positive and constructive reframing
Yeah.
that, because a lot of times I feel really fucking confused in my spiritual identity, right? Like right in my head. But when he said that, it changed something for me. And I was like, oh, this is an asset. Like spiritually, like we've got a lot of ancestors with a lot of different experiences who don't all come from the same place and have this global, um, these global stories of our lines. And that's a really powerful thing. And as part of that, I've tried not to reject my English ancestors. There were farmers and artists and um, musicians in that line that I it's funny because when I see them all show up, they take a back seat. They let the Indonesian ones come in first. They take a back seat. And I feel like that's some agreement they worked out when I was born or before I was born.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. I feel you. It's like it's hard, but I think there's a lot of beauty in it too, and that's what I try to tell myself.
Yeah. Trying to find it. I think there was a spot. Maybe I can write it down. All right. It seems dead air for people listening. Um, I don't know. Basically, like, as you're saying, like your English side, but you feel closer to your non-English side. And I have had that my whole life too, where I feel closer to my indigenous side than my English side. And it's actually created, I won't say conflict, but I think in some of my white relative side, there's a bit of like, well, what's the difference? Why is that side so much better? Why, like it's a rejection of this side, which is not the case. It's just, um, so it's, like I almost like that you, wherever I've read that or heard it, um, like you admitted that you feel closer to one side than the other, because that's how I've always felt, and then felt like I shouldn't feel like.
Yeah, I've seen it done both ways. I've
Right.
I've seen mixed people of color, um, over and over and over reject or deny or deny, like it's just this thing that's never mentioned, but it's really clear that there's some other things mixed in there, and every time I see that, I just have this prayer for them that they can like find peace with all their ancestors and not reject parts of them and or deny pieces of themselves. Um, and I also think like, I mean, Melissa, like she's as indigenous as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to some she's probably white passing um and I think her mother was half, so she's a quarter like your son and my daughter and what comes through and that's like it's real and it's true and nobody can take that away from us. Um this just made me think of one more thing. I'll just throw this out real quickly. I was talking to a friend. She is Diné, Apache, Ute, and maybe Mexican indigenous, or maybe I'm forgetting another North American indigenous tribe. But she's a whole mix of things. She is not enrolled anywhere. She's doing a lot of work to really try to repair and unite the unenrolled with tribal nations here and make sure we're all working together. Um, anyway, we were talking and we were talking about identity, and I said something like, "I am a displaced Indigenous woman as a result of adoption," and she kind of honed in on, oh, and I said, and I'm an uninvited guest here. Nobody asked me to come over from Indonesia.
Yeah.
So she kind of zeroed in on the words displaced and uninvited. And she was like, what happens when you remove those words from how you identify? And all of a sudden I just got this feeling of like total liberation. And I was like, oh, when those words aren't a part of my story, I don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Mhm.
And that was yeah, that was kind of a wild conversation because without even trying, there was a huge shift for me afterwards in like how I walk out my door and into the world. And I feel like there's something there for certainly for adoptees, um, and mixed race folks and immigrants and like all these things. And yes, these labels are a authentic part of our story, and we are not who we are without them. And um, maybe we don't have to let some of these more limiting terms define us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's such good stuff. I still have like 2 pages of notes we haven't even gotten to, so I don't know if we're gonna get to all of it, but it's such good stuff. I mean, like like I have a cousin on my dad's side who's red hair, super white, but he's been on like tribal council. He's lived down home forever. Like, and if you saw him walking down the street and didn't know him, you'd go, "Who's that redheaded white guy walking down the street?" But if you're down at a powwow and he's around, he knows everybody. He is as native as he can be, which is full fledged. But but yeah, it's just that whole. And I'm gonna have him on. He was on the first season. I want to dig more into his story because growing up down home and looking like he looks, like what that was like for him. And then I have another friend named Kobe who's similar. He's Chamorro, but blue eyes, super light hair, super light skin, and then everybody in his family is dark. And so he's like, "What the hell, dude?" And so like he has a hard time. Like he loves being from Guam, but he has a hard time feeling like but then he'll go down there and everybody's cool with him. His last name's Tayatano, and it's so like complicated and muddy and all this stuff. Like it's just and it makes for great conversation. Um, so what has storytelling taught you about yourself?
Oh, um, taught me about myself. Hmm. There are a lot of years, I want to say early years, but it was beyond the early years where I learned where I wasn't a good listener. I learned where I came in with bias about something and was totally checked once I started or even like romanticism about something. Um you know, I was making films in indigenous communities way before I realized I was allowed to think of myself as indigenous, and I was still showing up as an assimilated white girl in these spaces.
Right.
And I don't we weren't causing harm, but there were still things where like, ooh, I really needed to be checked by that one auntie, or I should have watched the way I asked that question more, or um yeah, that thing that they ended up getting invited to at that film festival was kind of exploitative, you know? So I think I started out with like a lot of love for humanity and a lot of interest in people, which is with all the best intentions. And then, yeah, just to be really honest, along the way and up until like it continues to do this. I don't think it ever stops. It shows, it holds up a mirror. If it's a mirror up to you and it shows you where you need to learn or change or grow, or get smarter, or you know, be a little smarter with your guardianship and protection. And um, yeah, I guess I'll just stop there. It's humbling, lots of humbling lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe let go of some preconceived ideas, unlearn some things. Yeah, for sure. But what do you think people, let's skip that question. Um, do you keep up with a lot of media? Like, obviously, you're a filmmaker. Are you looking to other media for inspiration or to see what people are doing? And the kind of follow up to that question is how do you feel about Indigenous representation right now?
Yes, we are lovers of art, and there's such a brilliant and robust and diverse indigenous community here in the Front Range in Denver area. My dog's really bored, throwing her ball around. Um, sorry. So there's a lot. Like there's always some exhibit. There's always an art market. There is murals, music. There's a lot going on around here, and we go to as many things as we can possibly go to. We are avid watchers of movies and other films, and um, yeah, and really like we love the like experimental indie stuff. If I had to name a big studio, I'd say A24 has some of
Yeah,
my favorite
they
stuff.
just good stuff.
Right? They're so out of the box, and it's kind of my dream one day to. I shouldn't even say this out loud. When I grow up, I want to be a A24 director.
Yeah.
So you know, we pull a lot of inspiration from other places for sure. And did you say native or indigenous representation? Because I use the words differently, but
Uh, I might have meant I don't know. I use them
like
interchangeably. So,
yeah. Do you mean like Native American or global indigenous?
specifically Native American. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think there's a well, okay. This is hard for me to answer because we're so in it. Like we are in Native American community here, and a lot of our art comes from Native community. So it feels like there's more representation than there's ever been. And when I think about who's showing up to those things, it's not the always the broader public.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we just finished Sterling Harjo's The Lowdown,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun. I mean, we are huge. I think we've watched Reservation Dogs 3, 4 times, also
Yeah.
all the way through. It was fun to see him expand into a place that wasn't just native.
Right.
And so those are places where it's like, oh, that's really exciting, um, because now you don't have to be like stuck in that silo for the rest of your artistic career. Jason, you want to say hi real quick? You feel like in the background enough.
Hey, just managing the dog and the squeaky tone for you. So,
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
likewise.
Yeah. Um, anyway, so it's exciting to see people push into places. And there's a brilliant artist here. She's currently a resident artist at Redline Contemporary Art Center. Her name is Christina Maldonado Badhand. She's Lakota. She runs Create Aya, which one of those projects is IACon, which is like the Indigenous Comic and Arts Festival every year in Denver. And it's badass. They had a blacklight powwow last year. Every year they have an Indigenous futurism fashion show. I got to walk in it this year, which was super fun because
Yeah.
I'm whatever, that's not my thing. And it was like so empowering to do that and to be able to work with this Navajo artist, like high fashion designer. Um, they they're so innovative and they're pushing into these like very modern contemporary urban spaces. And there's always this like it's not just all historical, it's like really like melding things with futurism, and that's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the idea. I don't know who I said this to. But yeah, Sterling Har. Let's have him not be that good native director. Let's have him be that good director. Let's not have yeah, like I just like this, like Reservation Dogs is an amazing show. And I'm the same. I've watched it over and over again. And now I'm showing the parts I could show to Che because not all of it really works for a 7-year-old, but I will still, I'll still show him Willie Knife Man because that is just too funny, but language and all. But yeah, I want there to be this, he's not a good native artist. He's a good artist. He's not a good native actor. He's a good actor. Like, and I think we're getting there. And in media, I feel like we're starting to get represented correctly because we're representing ourselves finally. And it's not the white director with the version of the stoic Indian out on the plains and the washout, burnout, whatever. Like I love that we're being represented as the funny and warm and smart and all the things that we are finally being accurately portrayed. But it took us doing it to do it. But I think this is, I don't know if I would call it a renaissance, but I definitely think it's moving in the right direction.
And I feel like your answer to that is carries a lot more weight than mine because you are Native American and you can look at something and be like, oh yeah, that represents me. So I can have my opinions about it but thanks for sharing your answer to that too. Yeah.
Okay. I think we have covered a whole lot of ground. So what are you looking for with your production company? What kind of things are you looking for as far as like collaboration with other people? What stories are you drawn to? Or is it all about, you know, explain?
Yeah, right. That's funny. No, no. We're still trying to figure that part out. Um, oh my gosh, like I could just go on forever about this. Like, so I got into making because I came from print. I was a magazine editor and always wanted to tell stories to music. So I would literally create playlists of songs or pick a album or something. So when I was writing a magazine article, I had music and because it's more of that somatic experience when music gets involved. Um, so I love as an editor, I just love the music collaboration side of it. Um, but outside of like filmmaking, it's such an interesting, it can be so passive or it can be like truly a physical experience. And we are trying to push into that more physical experience zone. And I don't know if that's like okay, we break our movie up and we've got some 30-second thing playing on a little monitor in this part of the exhibit, and then you walk through something and there's music playing, and then you actually see like something live, and then like, so we've had these ideas for like, how can we mix this up, how can we experiment, how can we um take people on a journey that they feel in their bodies, and that can happen in a theater for sure. It's happened to me plenty of times. But then where's that community afterwards? Where's the food? Where's the fire? Are you coming together and discussing what you just saw and processing it with each other? So these are ways that we kind of want to push out of traditional spaces. Um, and we just we're such fans of other people's art, and the many forms it takes, and um yeah, whether it's filming someone's process of making the piece, or somehow having the piece, be in partnership with film and a distribution angle. I don't know. We're still exploring it. But I think when it comes down to it, every single thing that we put out right now, I want it to fortify animistic values. I want non-human beings to be, or other than human beings, to have their own sovereign character roles in what we're filming. And there are some films that do that really beautifully. And I'm constantly, like, we're constantly on the lookout for ways that people find, artistic ways people can do that. And because I just go back to, if we can come back to an animistic value system and seeing the world through animism, that's when we're going to start to clean up this mess. So if I'm going to be, drawing from the energy board and using Adobe Premiere, which is promoting AI all over the place and heating up the planet faster than ever, and doing these extractive things that take a toll on the earth, then our stories better fucking talk about how to get back in right relationship. So, and I'm such a Luddite. If I had to give all this up tomorrow to sit around the fire and cook with the other aunties, I would give it up. But for now, this is the world we live in, and we need our microphones and cell phones and whatever.
Totally. Yeah, I've been trying to get out of this for quite a while, but yeah, it's I don't know. You're kind of anchored in place, and so you have to, at the very least, you're swimming with your clothes on. So you're trying to you're trying to create where you can. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, and similar to Melissa, and this is the first time we've ever talked. We emailed a little bit back and forth, but I feel like we got it on. How did you feel about it?
It was great. Yeah, it was. You're my favorite host, and I have to say, like, this is the first time I've been on a native podcast.
Really?
Really excited about that. It's a huge honor, and
Yes.
and I just appreciate the intersectionality, and grateful to Lara for yes, and again, really grateful that you and Melissa got to talk. That was such an amazing interview.
Yeah, that one's been getting. That's definitely. It's not my most played, but it's definitely my best review. Like everybody that's listened to it has been like, "Oh my god, that was such a," and yeah, I agree. I told Laura I was going to give her like an executive producer credit because she keeps hooking me up in all these spaces, and even Ostrad's working to line up some more people.
Okay.
But like I did this years ago with really no idea what I wanted to do with it, but just this feeling in me that there's something that needs to be said, and I don't know what it is. And I don't know that I still know what it is, but I think what I'm figuring out is just the amount of people, that have a story, and one of my best moments when I'm doing these is when I ask somebody a question and they go, "Oh my God, I've never been asked that." And that's like one of like my favorite things. And like my therapist, I said to her, I was like, I need to do something. I'm going crazy. I'm not, I'm just burning out. Like just going to work and coming home. Like I love being home, but our situation has changed and it's become challenging. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm comfortable home. I'm not comfortable at work. I'm burning out. And I had been talking about doing the podcast again. And then my doubt was coming in, like, why do we need another? There's a billion podcasts. Jesus Christ, enough with the podcast. And her response, and she does this to me all the time. She's like, yeah, there is a billion podcasts. There's only one you. And I was like, she got me again. And yeah, just finding so many people that relate to this mixed space, this in between. And so anyways, that's the story of the podcast. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm so glad it worked out that we were able to do it. And I love the film. And yeah, I hope I'll watch anything you do. I think you're really talented. And you have a great eye and very great voice, great eye, all this stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
All right.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too. See ya.
See ya.